Ever wonder how a big national strategy for child protection could possibly connect to a conversation you have in your own living room? Well, today we're going to connect those two worlds, and you'll see they're a lot closer than you think.
It's a massive question, right? So big it can feel kind of overwhelming, maybe even impossible. But what if the answer wasn't one giant solution? What if it was a whole series of smaller, connected ones?
You see, the answer starts when we stop seeing a child's world as just one single place, and instead see it as a series of interconnected layers. Think of it like a set of nesting dolls, and once you see the layers, everything starts to click into place.
Okay, so let's dive into this blueprint for safety. We're going to start by zooming way out to get the big picture, a powerful idea that actually grew out of a really specific problem.
And this right here is the problem that started it all. Check this out. Back in 2008, a survey in Kyiv uncovered a pretty serious gap. The very people on the front lines, we're talking school psychologists and social workers, admitted they didn't have the right tools for the job. Over 62% of psychologists and more than 41% of social workers said they just lacked the skills to protect kids effectively. I mean, that's a huge red flag. It was a clear signal that the system needed a total rethink.
So in response, this team got together. They wanted to create a totally new framework. Their big idea? To stop just reacting after something bad happened. They wanted to get ahead of the problem and build a system that could actually prevent it from happening in the first place.
And they called it structural prevention. The core idea is actually pretty brilliant. It's about moving beyond just punishing bad guys, and instead looking at the whole complex web of things that allows violence to happen. To do this, they borrowed a powerful concept from public health known as the ecological model. And this is that model in a nutshell. Remember those nesting dolls? Here they are. It asks us to see a child's world in 4 layers. At the very core, you have the individual child, their personality, their history. The next layer out is their relationships with family and friends. Then you've got their community, schools, neighborhoods, and wrapping around the whole thing is society itself, the laws, the cultural norms. The real game changer is this. True safety, true prevention means you have to address all 4 of these layers at once.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds very high level, very academic. What does a public health project from 2008 in Ukraine have to do with your kids' friends today? Well, the connection is way more direct than you think, and it all comes down to one of those 4 layers.
We're going to zoom right in on that second layer, relationships. Why? Because this is where the action is, day to day. It's where family, peers, and friends have a direct, daily influence on a child, shaping who they are and how safe they feel. So think about it for a second. Within that powerful relationship layer, what's the single most important relationship a kid builds once they step outside the front door?
Yep, it's their friends. And just like that, this huge, big-picture blueprint for safety becomes something incredibly personal and practical for every single one of us. But, friendship isn't just one thing. It evolves right along with our kids. When they're really little, like 3 to 7, a friend is basically just the kid who has cool toys and lives nearby. Then, from about 6 to 12, it suddenly becomes all about fairness and rules. But then, somewhere around 9 to 14, it deepens into something else entirely. It becomes about trust, sharing feelings, and real emotional connection. Every single one of these stages teaches them crucial life skills.
So here's the multi-million-dollar question, right? If these friendships are so vital for a kid's development, what's our role as parents? How do we help guide them through all this without just taking over?
Let's start with a classic scenario. You're not a fan of one of your kid's friends. The gut instinct is just to forbid it, right? You can't see them anymore. But we all know that usually just makes that friend 10 times more interesting. A way better strategy is to stay open and get curious. Instead of issuing commands, ask questions. Invite the friend over so you can see the dynamic for yourself. And maybe most importantly, model what a good, healthy friendship looks like with your own friends.
And we can also be proactive, help build a strong foundation from the start. This means creating chances for them to meet other kids, whether it's at the park or a coding club. It also means teaching them the simple mechanics of making a friend, like how to literally say hello or give a compliment. And as they get older, you can get into the bigger ideas, like what trust really means and how to spot someone who isn't trustworthy.
Now, when a friendship does get tricky, our job isn't to swoop in and be the hero. It's to be more like a coach on the sidelines. The goal is to empower our kid. Have those conversations about what a real friend does. They support you. They don't try to control you. You can point to specific things you've noticed, like, hey, I've noticed you seem kind of down after you hang out with them. This helps them learn to think for themselves, to set boundaries, and to make their own good choices.
Okay, so now let's zoom back out and connect all these dots. It might seem like a big jump, but I promise it's not. Remember, we started this whole explainer way up high, looking at a big, systemic approach to keeping children safe at a national level. And we've brought it all the way down to something as real and immediate as a conversation you can have with your kid tonight about their friends.
And here it is. This is the key takeaway. Helping your child navigate their friendships isn't just everyday parenting. It's you actively building and reinforcing one of the most critical protective layers in their world. You are doing the work of structural prevention, one conversation at a time. So that leaves us with one final question. This isn't about solving everything all at once. It's about taking that first, small, powerful step. So, what's one conversation you can start today to help build a stronger, safer world for a child you know?